Why is this record such a guitar gem? Two words: John Sykes. Let's discuss. Hey, how's it going? Hope all's going well, and I hope your guitar, music, and vinyl journeys are going famously. And welcome to another edition of the Vinyl Explorer. And this is where I dive deep into a lot of vinyl records that I truly love, and we discuss music that I find incredibly motivating and that I'm passionate about, that have really influenced me throughout my music and throughout my guitar playing journey. We are going to discuss this. This is Whitesnake, self-titled release from 1987. This record is a guitar gem. It is such a guitar-heavy record, and the guitar playing on this record is just amazing. Actually, one of my favorite guitar players, John Sykes, did just about all the guitars on this record. And man, he is just, he's just a fabulous, fabulous player. This record is very interesting because there was a lot of drama going on when it was being recorded. David Coverdale, the singer, ended up firing the whole band before it came out. So the actual musicians that recorded this record, they never played one song live from this. He got an entirely new band. And if you'd like a free video lesson and an ebook, just some extra content, a reference ebook that'll really help you along in your musical journey. It's packed with scale diagrams and music theory and soloing strategies. It's killer. Just click on that link in the YouTube description box below. I'll send you a free video lesson. It's not on YouTube, extended play. It's killer. I'll send you that and a free ebook, right, from Next Level Guitar. Now, this is the 7th record from Whitesnake. A lot of people don't know that Whitesnake was around a long time before this record came out. Obviously, this was their most famous record, right? And this record has sold a lot of copies. It's like 8 times platinum in the USA alone. And, worldwide estimates are like it's sold between 10 and 15 million copies worldwide. Whitesnake was a very different sounding band before this record. If you listen to the early stuff, they were kind of more of that British kind of blues rock based band. The record before this was Slide It In from 1984. This big departure from that. And, obviously the music had shifted from then, and in the 80s turned into, especially the mid to late 80s, a lot more of that kind of hair metal, hard rock kind of thing. And there's still like so much emotion and stuff going on from this record. Like John Sykes to this day is still very bitter about this whole thing, and he doesn't want anything to do or doesn't even want to talk to David Coverdale because of the way that things went down. So basically, here's the basic story. And if you notice something very interesting about this, so here's the cover, by the way. It still has the shrink wrap on it. I never took it off when I got it because it just protects a little more. This is like a near mint copy. And the front has the new symbol, the new logo that they designed for this record. And on the back, it has the musicians and the songs. And then on the inside, it has the liner notes, all the lyrics, right? Really important. And then the symbol, again, notice no pictures of the band or the musicians, right? Very, very important. So if you look at the back of the record, right, it gives you all the songs, which we'll go over in a minute, but David Coverdale vocals, John Sykes guitars, Neil Murray was the bass player, and Ansley Dunbar did the drums. It was produced by 2 producers, Mike Stone and Keith Olsen. They had another producer working on it, but earlier on he didn't work out. So 3 producers. It took like a year and a half because when they started making this record, David Coverdale got really sick, had some bad sinus issues, and eventually had to get an operation. So he wasn't even sure he was going to be able to sing again. He said it was like a 50-50 chance. So the record was delayed a long time. Now, all the songs on this record were written by John Sykes and David Coverdale, except Here I Go Again, which was written by Coverdale and one of the former members of Whitesnake, Bernie Marsden, I believe, and Crying in the Rain, which was written by Coverdale. But everything else was written by Sykes and Coverdale. And a couple of the songs on this record were recorded earlier. Both Crying in the Rain and Here I Go Again appeared with a different lineup. They were recorded in 1982 on their Saints and Sinners record. And if you listen to that record and the songs there, big difference to the way they were recorded on this record here. And if you have a second, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribing to the channel, that really helps us to keep the content coming. Ring that subscription bell too, because then you'll be notified when we have new videos posted, right? Leave a comment below. Let us know how you like this video. Let us know what you'd like to see coming up. And if you like the video, please click the like button, give it a thumbs up, share it, and thank you so much for your support. And the story as to what happened, I find fascinating because it really depends on who you're asking and who's telling the stories. There's a lot of different versions about what went down. So what happened is, before the record was released, Coverdale fired the whole band and he hired a whole new crop of musicians. He hired 2 guitar players, Adrian Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell, Tommy Aldridge to play drums, and Rudy Sarzo to play bass. Everyone else got fired. John Sykes says he didn't even hear it from Coverdale. He says that he found out that he wasn't in the band anymore through an A&R rep. So I think what's really interesting is the fact that when most people think of Whitesnake, what do they think of? They think of the band that's in those videos, right? Those iconic videos that came out from this record. Still of the Night, the video for that. Here I Go Again, the video from that. Is This Love, the video from that. You know, with Tawny Kitaen, super hot Tawny Kitaen doing splits and cartwheels on the car hoods. And the two guitar players, Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell, right? But they didn't create or record that music. The other guys did, you know, Sykes and Neil Murray and Angie Dunbar, and I don't think they get the recognition. So that's what's a bummer. I think, especially, I'm such a huge John Sykes fan. I was bummed when I found out he wasn't in Whitesnake anymore. And I think they kind of got the short end of the stick on that, on the recognition end. I'm sure they still get the royalties end, but the recognition end, because you don't think of Whitesnake and those guys, you think of the Whitesnake from the video. And I'm not dinging Adrian Vandenberg or Vivian Campbell. Great guitar players, both of them. I especially love Vivian Campbell and the work that he did in Dio. I'm a big Dio fan, you know, so those are great records. But I just think, I can't help but think that John Sykes just got the short end of the stick. And, you know, so the stories that I've heard and read, you know, again, depend on who you ask and who tells the story. John Sykes, if you ask him, he was saying things like, well, David Coverdale was coming up with every excuse under the sun not to record vocals. He didn't like the studio. It was the weather. He didn't like the microphones. And it just was being delayed, and they had to get this work done. The bills are piling up. They're not playing out. The record's not released. No money is coming in. In fact, Coverdale, he said that he was $3 million in debt, you know, before the release of this record, because, you know, he had such a long layoff because of not only his illness, but the recovery time before, and he didn't even know he could sing again. And then Sykes would say that, from what I read, said that Coverdale is telling a story that Geffen, that's the record company that Whitesnake was on at this time, Geffen forced Coverdale to fire the whole band, that it wasn't Coverdale's fault, you know? Because clearly Coverdale, it's his band, right? He's the captain of the ship. He is Whitesnake. He's calling all the shots. But, you know, if you ask Coverdale, he says things like, well, I was devastated to find out that while I was recovering and while I was sick, that John Sykes was, you know, kind of putting in motion, trying to find another vocalist and was going to wrest the control of the whole project and push me out. You know, he thought he was being threatened by Sykes. You know, and if you ask Sykes that, he says, that's ridiculous. I never would have done that because Coverdale is Whitesnake. When you think of Whitesnake, you think of Coverdale. Why would I want to replace the lead singer in Whitesnake? Coverdale, he's the band, right? He's Coverdale. Another story out there that was floated was that Coverdale wanted a second guitar player. Another guitar will have a two-guitar lineup, and Sykes, you know, didn't want that, and he was afraid that he was going to be replaced. I think, too, part of it back then, you know, it was the 80s. A lot of egos, right? I'm sure both of them big personalities, right? I'm sure they were both probably threatened by each other. Coverdale by Sykes, Sykes by Coverdale. And then I read a quote from the producer Keith Olsen, and he said that at one point John Sykes was very difficult to deal with. You know, he had all these takes, and so many of them weren't even viable because they were out of tune, and they'd keep doing more takes. In the meantime, you know, the clock is running, the studio and the cash register is rolling, right? And the bills are adding up. So, you know, I don't know. But again, it was bummed about Sykes because he's just such a force on guitar. And in fact, the next record that they put out after this one, I don't like nearly as much. And it's not because of the musicians, because Steve Vai played on that record, you know, just an amazing guitar player. But I think the songs are so much stronger on this. And Sykes' guitar playing is just monstrous on this record. And if you don't know about John Sykes, you need to know about him. And you need to look up some of his past work because he's done some incredible stuff. He played with the Tigers of Pantang. He played with Thin Lizzy. He played with Whitesnake. And then after Whitesnake, he formed Blue Murder. And they put out a couple records. And that first Blue Murder record is sick. You know, you got to get that one too because his playing on that record is just awesome. John Sykes' DNA is just all over this record. And by the way, he played on, I said just about everything. He hated the song, from what I understand, Here I Go Again. Didn't want much to do with that. So Adrian Vandenberg, Coverdale got Adrian Vandenberg to record the solo for Here I Go Again. And that's what it says in the liner notes too. I listened to an interview with Vandenberg, and he said he also recorded some of the rhythm parts for that song. I don't know if it made it onto the record, but everything else aside from that is John Sykes on this record. And listen to some of these songs, like, you know, the songs on this record, Crying in the Rain, just incredible song, and fierce guitar playing by Sykes on that. Bad Boys, Still of the Night, right? Awesome. That might have been the first single they released from this, right? And that's what everyone just was like, whoa, right? And then the last song on side A, Here I Go Again, which I've never really been a huge fan of that song. You know, I mean, and I get it, like all the 80s bands, you know, you have to have that ballad or two on every record. But I think on the second side, Is This Love, is a much stronger song. And by the way, that song, the guitar solo in that is one of the greatest guitar solos in a ballad ever, John Sykes. And then side two, Give Me All Your Lovin', Is This Love, Children of the Night, Straight for the Heart, and Don't Turn Away, right? Just packed. The songs on this record, just awesome. And a lot of people, you know, they pan the 80s and they get rid of the whole genre and they say, oh, that, you know, that hair metal stuff is too self-indulgent and it's too cheesy and that stuff is awful, and they just get rid of the whole genre. And a lot of people also say, oh, it's overproduced music, and you know, and you know, yeah, this record does have that 80s sound to it, and that's the way that records were made back then, right? It is very produced sounding. There's a lot drenched in reverb, right? I don't think that really influences the fact that there's great songs on this record and stellar musicianship. My feeling on that is that, you know, yes, toward the end it just got way over the top, and there was a lot of cheesy 80s hair metal bands for sure, but there was a lot of incredible musicians in that time, and some incredible records and incredible guitar playing and some great songs. You know, there were some really good bands and really good guitar players and really good musicians also. So you can't just throw the whole thing away. It was an incredibly interesting time in music, and I think it's a time that will never happen again, right? So you can't just get rid of all of it. I think this was one of the shining moments, and mainly due to Coverdale and Sykes' strong songwriting and Sykes' guitar playing. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Vinyl Explorer. Check out this record, check out some of John Sykes' other work, great stuff, right? Leave a comment below. Let us know how you like this. Let us know if there's maybe some other stories that you heard about all the drama and everything went down during the making of this record, right? Leave your comments below. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Ring that subscription bell. It really helps us to keep bringing the content, and then you'll be notified when we have new lessons posted. And click on that link in the YouTube description box. Get my free video lesson and ebook. It's killer. It'll really help you along in your guitar and musical journey. If you want to check out some of my original music, I recently released a new record with my original band, Mind Cell. We're based out of San Diego, California. It's a slamming record. I think it's some of the best music I've ever written. It's streaming on all the platforms. I'll put links to that below. Check it out. And then if you have any questions on the songs or the guitars I use, the gear or the studio production, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your support over the years and years. So appreciate it. I hope you're listening to your music on vinyl and you're enjoying purchasing and going out and searching for vinyl, right? And digging through bins. And that's part of the fun of it, right? And really listening to it the way that the music was designed to be heard on vinyl through a great set of speakers, right? Crank it up! Stay tuned. I got tons more killer content coming up. And remember, your guitar playing is an evolution. So enjoy the journey. Take care, rock on, and see you in the next video.